Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Not only should Walters be your spot before and after every Nats game, but also Walters is an avenue for cheaper Nats tickets. When buying tickets to Nationals Park through the rest of the season, enter promo code WALTERS for 30% off.
Lyon Richardson ready to go into the windup. His first pitch in the big league. Swung on, hit deep to right, way back, going, and gone goodbye. A tremendous home run by C.J. Abrams, way up toward the bleachers and out of sight. Bang, zoom goes Abrams with his 11th home run of the year, and the Nationals with instant offense in the first inning on the first pitch of the game.
2 outs, runner at second, 2-1 the count to Thomas. The pitch. Swing a line drive, hook to left, that's going to be a fair ball and go to the corner. Abrams will trot in and score. Thomas around first on his way to second with an RBI double. And the Nationals now lead at 5-3.
Again, Machado to the belt. Runner dancing off third, the pitch. Strike 3 called, caught him looking at the fastball. 98 miles an hour with the heater. And what a job by Andres Machado. He strands the 2 runners on the hits against Urban at second and third. 2 on, 2 out for the Reds. Here's the set. The kick and the 2-2 pitch. Swung on, line to right field. Thomas going back on the track. He's there, and he makes the catch. And bang, zoom, a Curly W's in the books. And so is a 3-game series sweep on the road for the Nationals for the first time since August of 2019.
And welcome to Nats Chat from Monday, August 7th, 2023, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is in Cincinnati. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Well, many great things happened for the Nationals in the year 2019. You know that. You don't need a history lesson. But among those things was the Nats sweeping a road series of at least 3 games. That happened in August 2019. That had been the last time that the Nats had swept a road series of at least 3 games until now. The Nationals continued to roll, make it 11 wins in 16 games, make it a 3-game sweep at the Reds, a 6-3 win at the Reds on Sunday afternoon, concluding a terrific weekend for the Nats in so many ways, perhaps principal among them, a spectacular weekend for this Nationals bullpen. We got to get into that, but there is so much more to take in. Mark, I know this will go down as your COVID weekend, but man, for the ball club, this was a pretty good weekend.
They seem to do better when I'm not there in person, Al, because you remember they finally broke the sweepless streak a few weeks ago at home against the Giants while I was roaming the cornfields in Iowa. And now they win this one with me watching from a hotel room 3 blocks away. The good news, I'm not going to Philadelphia with them, so perhaps the good vibes will continue, although I have no idea who's going to be available to pitch if they actually somehow have a lead on Monday. I guess you figure that one out whenever it happens. They had a chance to go for the sweep on Sunday, and they went for it, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, Davey Martinez absolutely went for it. You would think the Nats are contending for a pennant the way that he pushed that bullpen in this series. But hey, it ended up working. And, like I said, this ends up being very much a feel-good weekend for the Nationals. Oh, by the way, Dylan Cruz homered in just his second game for the Fredericksburg Nationals, the Fred Nats, an 8-5 win over the Salem Red Sox on Sunday afternoon. So all kinds of good things happening. But yeah, I am fascinated by what happened with this Nats bullpen, really in this series, but specific to this game on Sunday afternoon. So 4 Nats relievers combined for 4 2/3 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts. Outstanding work. But 3 of the 4 relievers each was pitching for a third time in 3 days. I'd like to know, since the Nats came to D.C., how many times has anything like this happened? You had Andres Machado pitching for a third time in 3 days, Jordan Weems pitching for a third time in 3 days, Kyle Finnegan pitching for a third time in 3 days, and yet all 3 guys came through. How about Machado? I mean, this guy all of a sudden is like some shutdown reliever. Machado on Sunday afternoon faced two batters, generated two big strikeouts, came into the game bottom of the fifth, runners on first and third, one out, Nats holding a 5-3 lead. The runner on first, by the way, TJ Friedl, had an uncontested steal of second base on Machado's first pitch of the game, but Machado then recorded back-to-back strikeouts of the Reds' numbers 3 and 4 batters, Matt McClain and Kristen Encarnacion Strand. We had Jordan Weems tossing a perfect bottom of the 8th. We had Kyle Finnegan tossing a scoreless bottom of the 9th with 2 strikeouts, despite giving up back-to-back one-out singles. And oh, by the way, Robert Garcia made his Nats debut, 2 scoreless innings, 2 strikeouts. What did you think about what we saw with this bullpen on Sunday?
I don't even know which out of all that was most impressive because they all were impressive in their own way. Machado, like you said, where did this come from? He's firing 97 mile an hour, 98 mile an hour sinkers in on guys' hands and giving them no chance to do anything with it. So props to him for figuring something out here. Garcia, like you said, in his debut for the team with 2 scoreless innings and looked like some good stuff there. Fastball, slider, and a changeup from the lefty. Oh my God, did the Nats actually find themselves a quality left-hander that they just picked up off waivers from the Marlins right around the trade deadline. Then Weems, who has really stepped it up here the last few weeks and establishing himself as their new go-to 8th inning guy with the perfect inning of relief. Until Finnegan gave up the hits in the 9th, it was hitless relief from this entire group. And then Finnegan, I know he gave up the 2 hits, but boy, the stuff was still really good. He hit 100 late in that inning, and he has been nails. We talked about this the other day. He has just been nails since retaking over the closer's role, and really the vast majority of the season now, Kyle Finnegan has been outstanding no matter the role that he has been in. It is so remarkable to think about where this bullpen was about 3 weeks ago when they left Chicago. Remember, there was a 17-3 game. It all blew up on them. They looked like they had nobody they could trust in any spot of consequence or not of consequence. And look what they've done since then. It is a remarkable turnaround for that group.
It absolutely is. Now, I don't know what this means. I mean, in this next series at the Philadelphia Phillies, we could see the bullpen struggle. And, with Davey pitching these 3 guys on 3 consecutive days, I don't think anybody should be stunned if the bullpen, has a step back series. But all you can do is evaluate what is in the now. And what is in the now is really one of the best series for the Nats bullpen this season. And you go through this series game by game, the 6-3 10-inning win on Friday evening, 5 Nats relievers combined for 3 2/3 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts. The 7-3 win on Saturday, 3 Nats relievers, 3 scoreless innings. And now this 6-3 win on Sunday afternoon, 4 Nats relievers, 4 2/3 innings scoreless with 7 strikeouts. What do you think, though, about Davey really pushing it with Machado, Weems, and Finnegan? I mean, we have seen what has happened to Nats relievers in the past who got pushed a lot. I mean, Sean Doolittle famously a few years ago. We don't know if that's why Hunter Harvey got hurt. I mean, he does have a substantial injury history. But, man, I mean, Davey really pushed it with all 3 of these guys.
I was surprised. I'll admit it. I didn't think we would see any of the 3. I felt like the attitude would be, hey, we won the first 2 games of the series. Anything beyond that is a cherry on top. And, we're not going to go out of our way to try to pull that off. We're going to protect these guys. And then you saw Machado come back out and like, oh, okay, well, maybe he's the exception here. They're willing to do it with him. And it was only part of an inning for him. But then you saw Weems come out for the 8th. And my first thought was, well, I guess that means Finnegan's available for the 9th because you're not going to put Jordan Weems in the 8th if you're not also then going to pitch Finnegan as well. So I know Davey talks to these guys. He trusts them to tell them honestly how they feel. It's up to them to be honest. If they don't think they can go, they're supposed to say it. I can't go today. Obviously, all 3 said they were good to go. The performances suggested they were fine. But I would think now, you don't just give them 1 day off. You give them 2 days off at least until you use them again. I don't care what the score is, what the situation is. You went for it. You pushed the envelope. It worked all weekend, but you got to give them a break now because the last thing you want to do is have this turn into something really bad for any of them from a health standpoint.
Yeah, it's one of those things of you sacrifice tomorrow and just think about today. And again, it's the kind of thing you see from a contending team. It's the kind of thing you see in October. You're not used to seeing this in early August from a last place team, although this may not be a last place team for much longer. The Nats are obviously playing really well right now with, like I said, 11 wins in 16 games. Hey, are you a law firm partner stuck on an underperforming team while the rest of the competitors are spending big and winning big? Well, unlike Mackenzie Gore and Keibert Ruiz, you have options. You don't have to stay on your 60-win team. Nats Chat sponsor Mason Kalfas and his team specialize in placing partners and associates at medium-sized and large law firms in Washington, D.C. and across the country. Mason Kalfas has recruiters in 6 states and has placed lawyers in more than half of the 100 largest law firms in the United States. While you may be reading doom and gloom from the legal press, many practices are red hot. Antitrust, IP litigation, white-collar litigation, finance and direct lending, and healthcare. Because you are not under a CBA or team control for 6 years. In fact, staying at a firm too long is often a recipe for being underpaid. Explore your options today with Mason Kalfas. Call Mason today at 202-486-3535. That number again, 202-486-3535.
Lane Thomas, the batter. First pitch to him, swung on, hit deep to center. TJ Friedel angling back. He's on the warning track, at the wall, leaping. Can't get it. It's gone. Goodbye. Bang! Zoom goes Lane Thomas. And the Nationals have homered on consecutive pitches. The first 2 pitches of the game. The first 2 pitches in the big league career for Lyon Richardson. Lane Thomas with his 19th home run of the year. It's the Nationals 2 and the Reds nothing.
Really good bullpen work by the Nats in this game on Sunday afternoon. More good offense by the Nats in this game in terms of what this Nats offense did in the series. The Nats for the game, 6 runs, 10 hits, 7 walks, 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The Reds pitching in this series ended up being really poor, but credit the Nats for doing a lot of good things in this series. Hitting for power, drawing walks, 2 things we have not seen in abundance this season. We did see in abundance in this series. And the guy leading the way on Sunday afternoon was C.J. Abrams. He had not done much over the first 2 games of this series. Friday evening, 0 for 5. Saturday, 1 for 5 with a single. But how about Abrams on Sunday afternoon? 4 for 5 with a solo homer, a double, and 2 singles, and 2 for 2 on stolen bases. That's now 24 consecutive stolen bases without being caught. That ties the record for most consecutive stolen bases without being caught by a Nats player since the franchise moved to D.C. Roger Bernardina is the man who has been tied. But we had the Nats homering on back-to-back pitches to begin this game. C.J. Abrams and then Lane Thomas. Abrams in what ended up being a 4-run first, a leadoff first pitch home run to right field. Abrams in a Nats 1-run fourth, a 1-out single up the middle and to steal a second base. Abrams in the top of the 6th, a 1-out full count opposite field single to left field and a steal of second base. And the steal of second base prompted a throwing error by the Reds catcher Tyler Stevenson, advancing Abrams to third. And then Abrams in the Nats 1-run 8th, a 1-out double to right field on an 0-2 pitch. You had to wonder, Abrams had cooled off a little bit. Maybe, just maybe, it was time for him to come back down to earth. And then he was like, no, I'm still hot. And he had quite the game on Sunday afternoon.
He was in total control of this game, and it was great to see that from him. Like you said, I think it had been an 0-for in the first 2 games of the series, but he was authoritative from the very first pitch. And I don't know about you, and maybe this says something about me, but as I watched that first inning play out, all I could think to myself was, boy, how many times in recent years have we seen a promising young Nationals pitcher take the mound for the first time and have something bad happen to them right off the bat? And to finally see it happen to somebody else and the Nats do it to somebody else, there was a little bit of enjoyment, I think, for that. So all due respect to young Mr. Richardson, who had only made 1 AAA start before making his major league debut, missed all of last year with Tommy John surgery. So he was really thrown into the fire in this one. But props to the Nats for having a good game plan. At times you're going to say, hey, young guy, he's going to be a little bit nervous. Let's try to work the count. Let's force him to get the ball over the plate. Well, you know what else? He's probably going to throw fastballs. He's going to try to get it over the plate. If you get one over the plate, go for it. And that's exactly what Abrams did. It's exactly what Lane Thomas did right behind him. And that was such a nice thing to see. You could see the way C.J. Abrams looked back at the dugout after connecting on that first one. It sort of suggested like, yeah, we meant to do that. It worked. Let's keep doing it. And by the end of that inning, they got 4 runs on the board and just set such a good tone and left the Reds and their fans on their heels in a way that I don't think any of them could have expected to be the case.
The Reds now have lost 6 consecutive games. The Reds are above 500, 59 and 55, but with a negative run differential, minus 29, there is a fraudulent nature to the Reds. They've gotten a lot of praise for being a young team on the rise, doing well, surprisingly in contention, and, all of that stuff is fine. But, you dig a little deeper on their season, they're not as good as their record would suggest. I mean, the Reds and the Miami Marlins are the two, prominent fraud candidates in this season in the National League. But yeah, the Nats made the Reds look bad in this series. And like I said, you had those back-to-back first pitch home runs to begin things in this game. I mean, once again, the Nats have a big first inning. We've seen that so often this season. But the man who hit the second home run of that 4-run first inning was a guy who ended up having a monster series, Lane Thomas. He on Sunday afternoon, 2 for 4, solo homer, RBI double, and an RBI sac fly. His homer in that top of the first to center field, 406 feet per Statcast. Thomas in the Nats 1-run fourth, 2-out RBI double to left field for a 5-3 Nats lead. And Thomas in the Nats 1-run eighth, an RBI sac fly with 1 out. And that came despite him having been down at 1.02. So a good piece of hitting by Thomas there. But you look at Lane Thomas in this series, the 6-3 10-inning win on Friday evening, 3 for 5, 2-run homer, solo homer, infield single. The 7-3 win on Saturday, 2 for 4, RBI double, a single, an RBI sac fly, and 2 stolen bases. And now what he did on Sunday afternoon, not unlike with C.J. Abrams. Thomas had been slumping. I mean, there really was no debate about that. Did not have a good month of July. But boy, he does well at Great American Ballpark. We've talked about that, and he obviously did well in this series.
Now you just hope he can keep it going. Maybe this can be the spark plug that gets him back to where he was for really the first half of the season. Doing it in all kinds of different ways. The power, of course, is great, but he was also coming through. He hasn't been great this year with runners in scoring position, but he came through with a big RBI double in the 4th inning, a sac fly in the 8th. I think that was good to see as well. He's been running the bases well. I think there's a really fascinating question about what exactly is Lane Thomas long term. We know the Nats have decided to keep him. The question is, how does he fit in now, not just this year, but beyond? It could still be a prominent role for him.
You have Abrams and Thomas doing so well on Sunday afternoon. And we talked about on the last show how, with K-Bet Ruiz now, it's pretty much every game cleanup batter. You need him to be good. You need Abrams to be good. You need Thomas to be good. That can be a pretty exciting and dynamic 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup. We saw that on Sunday afternoon. You see that in these guys. I mean, Abrams and Thomas, each guy can hit for power. Each guy can hit for average. Each guy can run. That can be a pretty good 1-2 combo. Obviously there are questions about long-term, how good is Thomas truly? And, we don't know with certainty that C.J. Abrams is going to work out. But it's pretty cool to see something like that, see two guys like that do as they did on Sunday afternoon. And it makes you think about, what could be coming down the line. So Abrams and Thomas combined for 6 of the Nats' 10 hits in this game. Another guy for the Nats who had a multi-hit game on Sunday afternoon was Jake Alou. All he is doing is providing RBI hits for the Nats since being brought back up to the majors. Alou, remember, did not start Game 2 of this series, but he in this Game 3 of the series as the Nats starting second baseman and number 6 batter, 2 for 4 with a 2-run single, another single, and a walk. Alou in the 4-run first, a 1-out 2-run single up the middle for a 4-0 Nats lead. Top of the 3rd, a 2-out walk. Top of the 7th, a 2-out single through the right side of the infield on a 1-2 pitch. Every game this guy plays in since he got brought back up, he's providing an RBI hit.
And we know this is what he's done throughout his minor league career. And we talked about it the other day when they called him up. The first time he was here, it was in a weird position. He's kind of getting occasional starts here or there. He's coming off the bench. He's playing left field. I felt like put him in there on a semi-daily basis at his natural positions in the infield and see how he does. His tool is his bat. He's going to have to be able to show that he can play good enough defense wherever that is for him to stick up here. But ultimately, his calling card is going to be his ability to hit. And the best way to hit is to do it on a regular basis. There aren't a lot of young guys that do well coming off the bench. That's a tough spot to be in to have success. So I'm glad to see this. I don't know that I'm necessarily shocked by it because this is his reputation for what he can be. We saw him get a hit off a lefty, which is a great sign. He can do that as well. He drew a walk. Very nice. But that ability in a big spot, hit the ball back up the middle for a single and drive in a run or two. This is a skill that he seems to possess. You want to see more of it. We don't really know what ultimately this guy is. But right now, there's every reason in the world to try to play him as much as it makes sense and to keep him whether it's at second base or third base, keep him at those positions and allow him not to have to think too much about his defense.
I think you appreciate him hitting like this from the get-go, too, given the struggles of, say, Abrams, who, it took him a while to get going offensively. Here's a guy, Jake Alou, 24th round pick in 2019, gets summoned back up to the majors, and right away, he's able to hit, able to contribute offensively. I think there's something to be said for that. And, bigger picture with the rebuild, no doubt, you need your stars, you need the Dylan Cruzes and James Woods and CJ Abrams to come through. But, we remember the previous generation of winning Nats teams, you had key bench guys, Danny Espinosa, Steve Lombardozzi. So maybe a guy like Jake Alou can be someone along those lines, because you got to think, if the Nats are going to be good again, it's not just going to be with the big stars. You're going to need depth. You're going to need guys who can be called upon when injuries happen. And, not to box Jake Alou into being just a bench guy, but if that's what he is, a good reserve, a guy who you can start for stretches of time, there's no shame in that, and there's obviously value in that.
We've repeated this over and over, but we have to keep repeating it. The Nationals' failures in development and drafting over a good portion of the last decade is not just about the first round. It's about all the other rounds that come after that. Anything you can get from guys in the second round beyond, Jake Alou's way beyond that as a 24th round pick. You have to be able to show you can develop somebody from that who can turn into not necessarily a star, but just turn into a good quality major leaguer. Long way to go before we can say that's true in this case, but he has the potential to be that. Jake Irvin has the potential to be that. You would love to see more of this happening from within their system. It's not just about the blue chip prospects. It's about these other guys who grind their way up through the minor leagues, who become better players. They get the full minor league experience that used to be the case for everyone. 3, 4, 5 years in the minor leagues, and then they get to the big leagues, and they just continue what they've been doing all those years as they work their way up the ladder.
A few other offensive notes for the Nats from Sunday afternoon. We did see Blake Rutherford start for the second time in this series. He did struggle for the second time in this series. He was a Nats starting left fielder and number 8 batter, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. So Rutherford, over his 2 games in this series in terms of starts, 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts. I mentioned, though, the 7 walks. How about Alex Call becoming like the Kevin Youkilis of the Nats over these last few games? The Greek god of walks was Kevin Youkilis in the famous book Moneyball. Alex Call, a single and 2 walks on Saturday, 0 for 2, but 2 more walks on Sunday afternoon. 4 walks for Call over the final 2 games of this series. Did get tagged out on an attempted steal of home on a double steal in the 4th inning. What'd you make of that play? Another attempt at a double steal. The Nats are being super aggressive on the base pass. It's really cool to see. Abrams safe at second on the throw, but then Call got gunned down at home.
The hold. Abrams running. The pitch is outside and low. The throw down to second. Call breaks for the plate. Abrams is safe. Return throw home is in time, and Call is out.
Yeah, I liked the idea. I think that's exactly the kind of thing they should be doing. I did not love the execution. And you could see as you watch the replay from kind of a wide angle, Alex Call wasn't fully committed to it. The second that catcher lets go of the ball, you take off for the plate. And there was just a little bit of hesitation. And I think that made the difference. But thankfully, that didn't make a difference in the end and didn't hurt them in the game. I just got to say, I get so much of a kick out of watching Alex Call draw a walk because he reacts to it like most guys do when they hit a home run. He takes a lot of pride in that. He's this close to bat flipping when he draws a walk, and I love that about the guy.
Well, the Nats in this series played a guy who's been like the king of walks for years in Joey Votto. So, yeah, if Alex Call can summon some of that inside of himself, why the heck not? Ildemaro Vargas ended up starting at third base in all 3 of these games. Any surprise that post the trade deadline, with all these new pieces, that Davey Martinez actually went with Vargas as the starting third baseman for all 3 games in this series?
Surprise, no. Disappointment a little bit. If you really are about looking at young guys now, who we did not see at all was Jeter Downs. He pinch ran once, and that's it. Now, I'm not saying the guy has done anything so far to suggest that he deserves considerable playing time. But why is he here if you're not going to at least get a look at him? And maybe after a week of playing him, you're going to say to yourself, this guy's just not a big leaguer. Okay, we move on from that. But somebody brought him into the organization because he had some ability in the past, and people thought this guy was going to be a big-time player. He has a lot to prove still, but it's hard to prove it when you're sitting on the bench.
Yeah, Vargas had been doing well. He's not doing well anymore. His numbers really have come tumbling down. I don't know why we have to see Ildemaro Vargas start 3 games in any series. I mean, Vargas on Sunday afternoon, 0 for 5. Guys like Vargas and Michael Chavis, I mean, I'm not saying you have to bench them the rest of the season, but we don't need to be seeing a ton of those guys right now. Hey guys, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation. Well, the heat, the humidity, the sky-high temperatures, they all are here. And all of this is forcing your air conditioning into overdrive, leading to ultra-high energy bills. The solution, new windows from the folks at Window Nation. And Window Nation right now is offering a sensational deal to listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. Right now, no money down, no payments, and no interest for 2 years, plus 50% off all styles of windows. And if you call this week, you get an extra 10% off. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Again, no money down, no payments, no interest for 2 years, plus 50% off all styles of windows. And if you call this week, you get an extra 10% off your order. 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. If you've been thinking about getting new windows, now is the time. 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. And make sure that you tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Hey, Nats Chat podcast. Tim Shover's here to tell you about the Game Time app. My wife is a big concert fan, and I'm a bit of a newbie and don't know where to begin in terms of how to get concert tickets. Then I remembered about Game Time, the best place for last-minute ticket deals. Plenty of options on there. Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you will know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about Factor. We on the Nats Chat podcast talk all the time about who is and will be a factor for the Nats. Well, the factor that I want to tell you about is as good as any top-notch prospect. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, and it can help you fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track reaching your goals. With Factor, you skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping and the prepping and the cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality that you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all that you have to do is heat up and enjoy. Treat yourself to 34-plus weekly restaurant-quality options like bruschetta shrimp risotto, green goddess chicken, and grilled steakhouse filet mignon. Again, ready in just 2 minutes. Go to factormeals.com/NatsChat50 and use the promo code NatsChat50 to get 50% off. That's factormeals.com/NatsChat50 and use that code NatsChat50 to get 50% off.
The pitch. Swinging a line drive, one hop. It's scooped by Vargas. He'll throw to second for one. Alou throws to first low. It is dug out by Smith for a double play. So Robert Garcia in his Nationals debut throws a scoreless inning. He pitches around a leadoff walk. He gets his first strikeout. And then one pitch later gets a double play. 5-4-3.
Well, Jake Irvin was the Nats starting pitcher on Sunday afternoon. And, he did not have what you would call a good outing for sure. I mean, he lasted for just 4 1/3 innings. He allowed 3 runs, gave up 5 hits, 2 homers, and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He did have 6 strikeouts. That was good. I like seeing that. But obviously lasting for just the 4 1/3 innings was disappointing. He threw a lot of pitches over his brief time in the game. 94 pitches over 4 1/3 innings. This was a game that was moving at like a snail's pace, especially over the first half of the game. And, each starting pitcher was responsible for that. I mean, neither starting pitcher was good. Irvin, there were some things to like, but obviously pitch efficient, he was not on Sunday afternoon.
Well, and the biggest problem, he just had no feel for his curveball at all. And you see how much he relies on that pitch. When he doesn't have that, doesn't really have anything else, that he can go to. And he was almost exclusively throwing fastballs at one point. Now, as a starting pitcher, I don't know very many guys who've been able to do that and have any level of success at all. So he did finish okay, kind of strong, seemed to find the curveball again enough to muddle his way through it. But he's given up home runs now at a pretty impressive pace over the last month or so. 2 of the runs here were on home runs, on solo shots. He walked some batters. As you said, the pitch count was high. I know in the big picture, we're looking at Jake Irvin and saying, okay, he's been pretty good given the situation that he was thrown into. And yeah, he's been better since they gave him that break in his turn in the rotation. He's still looking at an ERA in the upper 4s and doesn't really have a lot of those starts that you say, oh, wow, okay, he was really good in this one. So I know the bar is not that high for him. We're not looking at him the same way you look at a Josiah Gray or a Mackenzie Gore. But you'd like to see a little bit more, I think, from Jake Irvin right now. Maybe it would be time for another break. What we don't know right now is the Nats' rotation plan exactly as they move forward, because Trevor Williams is back off of bereavement list. He's going to start on Monday, and then they set the rotation for the Phillies series. We have not heard what exactly the plan is for Yohan Adon, if he's going to the bullpen or if maybe he would start next weekend against the A's and somebody else would lose their spot, or if they would go with 6 starters or give somebody a break. I think that's an open-ended question that we still need to find out later this week.
Yeah, the probable starting pitchers for the Nats in this upcoming 4-game series at the Phillies: Trevor Williams, Game 1, Josiah Gray, Game 2, Mackenzie Gore, Game 3, Patrick Corbin, Game 4. And those starters were put out by the Nats. All 4 games, by the way, 6:40 starts at the Phillies this coming week. So we mentioned Yohan Adon, and what he did in Game 2 of this series, of course, was wonderful. We talked about that in the last installment of the podcast. But it would seem that what Yohan Adon did on Saturday has cost us Paolo Espino, because the Nats on Sunday reinstated Trevor Williams from the bereavement list, as Mark just mentioned. But the corresponding roster move was the requesting of unconditional release waivers for reliever Paolo Espino. Look, we've had a lot of fun with Paolo, but we also have shown a lot of respect to Paolo. He has had a great story. This may well be the end of the line for him in the majors. We'll see. But is that how you see it, that Adon doing well is what ends up leading to the Nats requesting these unconditional release waivers for Paolo Espino?
Well, not entirely. So they still needed to call up Trevor Williams, and the move for that was Amos Willingham. They could have sent Adon down and brought Williams back up. There really was another move that precipitated this. That was Israel Pineda, who's been hurt all year, finally being healthy enough to come off the 60-day IL and immediately be optioned to Harrisburg. The problem there, for those who don't know how this works, when you're on the 15-day IL, you are still on the 40-man roster. When you go to the 60-day IL, that takes you off the 40-man roster. So it is a way to carry more players over the course of a year. And sometimes guys get stashed on the 60-day IL for the whole season. But obviously, once you're healthy, you have to be activated. And so Pineda now, needing to get back on the 40-man roster, even though he's in the minors, they needed to clear a spot from somebody else. And that somebody else, unfortunately, is Paolo Espino. So he was hurt. Remember, dealing with the finger injury. I don't think he would have been healthy for a little while, but I guess they looked at that as not a situation that justified a 60-day IL move for him. So they went ahead and requested the release on him. And it's a disappointing end to his story. But let's be honest, I think what we had seen from him in limited action this year and really down the stretch last year suggested that they got everything they were going to get from Paolo Espino. And in a lot of ways, while he was perfect for them at the time as they began this rebuilding process, they've improved enough now as an organization that they have better, younger options who need the spots on their roster. And so guys like Paolo Espino, like Erasmo Ramirez earlier in the year, they get squeezed out. But that's, in the bigger picture, probably a good sign for the organization, even though it's tough to have to let go somebody who everyone liked and who obviously did such a nice job for them in the role that he was asked to hold down for a few years.
Well, and I even think about like Corey Dickerson. I mean, the Nats in recent years have had plenty of older guys who disappointed, but who were kept on the team for the remainder of the season. The Nats this season released Corey Dickerson, and I think that actually is a sign of progress because, you know, whether it was Cesar Hernandez or Nelson Cruz or whoever from years past, like these guys stuck it out with the team over the course of the rest of the season for the most part. Dickerson did not. You know, I mean, I guess, you know, Starlin Castro didn't, but there were extenuating circumstances with him. So, yeah, I mean, I think these are kind of sneaky signs of things are getting better. But we certainly salute Paolo Espino and wish him all the best. And, you know, he had been on the 15-day injured list with a flexor strain of his right ring finger. I guess you can just release a guy when he's on the IL. There are no rules against that?
Yeah, it's a little tricky. Maybe they had to show that he was at least making progress, or maybe he was close to being healthy again. I'm not sure of the exact deal on that one. It is unfortunate, and I feel for the guy. I think everybody feels for him knowing what he had done for them. But let's relive some of this because it really is a pretty remarkable journey for him. From 2007 to 2019, over 13 seasons, he pitched for 4 different organizations, but only 12 major league games during all that time. That was for the Brewers and the Rangers in 2017. He ends up signing a minor league deal with the Nationals, pitched for them at AAA for a while, I think in all of 2018 and 19. And then they called him up at the end of the pandemic year in 2020, made 2 late season appearances. Then really he took off in April of 2021. Steven Strasburg was scratched from a start. That would be kind of the beginning of the end for Steven Strasburg. It was a last minute scratch from his scheduled start. And all of a sudden they're calling up this guy, Paolo Espino, from AAA. He makes the start, and he ends up on the active big league roster all the way through the end of the 2022 season. Almost 2 full seasons just off of that he stuck up there. And he earned it to be up there because of the way that he pitched. He had a sub-3 ERA into July 2021. And really, in the end, he was a much better reliever than starter. 50 appearances out of the bullpen overall. 2.81 ERA as opposed to a 5.18 as a starter. We could see that with our own eyes. He was much better as a reliever, but they used him in any role they needed. Remember, he got his first career save in a wild game in Philadelphia. He started, he long relieved. Davey gave him the nickname, the secret weapon. We had fun with that, of course. He was a nice guest for us on the podcast early on. Really a good, hardworking guy who has stuck it out for a long time in the sport. He's 36 years old. I don't know what's next for him, but whatever it is, we wish him well and we thank him for what he meant to this team the last couple of years.
Taken by the Cleveland Indians in the 10th round of the 2006 MLB draft and making his way to the majors after a long battle in the minors. So good for Paolo Espino for doing that. We want to send the best to the Little League team of Montgomery County, Maryland, vying for a spot in the Little League World Series. Unfortunately, MoCo on the brink of elimination regarding the team's game on Monday night, a 6-2 loss to Pennsylvania on Sunday. But Washington, D.C. did defeat Delaware 4-0. So hopefully we'll somehow get some local representation in the Little League World Series, perhaps via 2 teams. We shall see. But wishing both of those teams the very best. Hit us up on Twitter at @Nats_chat. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to sponsor the show. Hit up Tim Shover, see what we can do for you. Again, that email address is natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our website as well, natschatpodcast.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. A thank you to Tim Newmark for the music of the Nats Chat podcast. Visit timnewmark.com. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
On a 3-2, Cruz swings and hammers the ball center field, and that ball is out of here. All it took was one. A debut weekend dinger for Dylan Cruz, and the Fred Nats lead